To the Middle East now, and Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman arrived in the United Arab Emirates for a state visit. This amid a diplomatic storm brewing over the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. His arrival marked the beginning of his tour of several Arab nations. This is his first trip abroad since the murder of Khashoggi in Turkey. The murder sparked international condemnation and a diplomatic fallout. Prince Mohammed bin Salman is also expected to attend the G20 Summit in Buenos Aires later this month. The visit comes days after the CIA suggested that the Crown Prince ordered the murder. Meanwhile, it has emerged that US President Donald Trump has absolved the Saudi royal family. This move contradicts earlier suggestions by the CIA that the Crown Prince may have ordered the hit. Let's get some reaction now from CGTN correspondent Michelle David. She's joining me from Istanbul, and Daniel Renches in Washington. First, let's get some reaction from Istanbul on the US president's pronouncement on the case. Michelle, what is the stance of the Turkish government?
Yes, there was a harsh reaction from Turkey. Turkey's Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu stated that the comments made by U.S. President Donald Trump mean that he will turn a blind eye no matter what. Now, Turkey's stance has been that the murder is above any financial matter for Turkey. And one quote from Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, the foreign minister, he said, "We cannot say our trade will increase. Let's cover it up. Let's ignore it." So basically, he's kind of saying, giving a message basically to the United States here, and they've stated that they will do everything in their power to shed light on this murder. And there was also a statement made during the week by Numan Kurtulmuş, the deputy chair of the ruling Justice and Development Party, and he stated that he believes there is no way the CIA does not know who gave the order of this killing.
Daniel, President Trump is now being accused of shielding the Saudi royal family for economic reasons. So what reasons has he given for his conclusion on this matter?
Well, there's always been a lot of pragmatism in the US-Saudi relationship going back decades, but never more explicitly has the real politic been expressed by a sitting president. In other words, President Donald Trump describing or being questioned about the possibility that Mohammed bin Salman may have been responsible or ordered the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi, he said maybe he did, maybe he didn't, and then went on to say that it was in the US economic interest to maintain strong relationships with the Saudis in order to maintain very lucrative military contracts, in order to maintain some influence over the supply of oil, and lastly, to be able to maintain what is, after all, one of the cornerstones of US Middle East policy under Trump, which is a strong relationship with Saudi Arabia, in order to be a bulwark against the influence of Iran, which is a key priority of the Trump administration. So a very pragmatic answer there, in stark contrast to previous presidents who've tried to nuance and balance out the interests of, say, human rights and the economic imperatives and strategic imperatives of the United States.
Well, Michelle, has the Turkish media, though, and the government made any progress into locating Jamal Khashoggi's remains, though?
Right now, it does not seem that they have made a lot of progress at this time, and this has really been one of the key frustrations for Turkish officials. It's been one of the statements that's been repeated by Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan over and over again. He's questioned, where is Jamal Khashoggi's remains? Now, Saudi Arabia have admitted that they have handed over the remains of Jamal Khashoggi to a local collaborator after he was killed inside the Saudi consulate, after his body was dismembered. However, they have refused to give the identification of this local collaborator to Turkish officials, and this has really been very frustrating for Turkish officials. And during the week, Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, the foreign minister, has stated that if Saudis do not cooperate with Turkish officials, then they would be seeking a formal UN investigation. And I think that one of the main areas that they expect cooperation is basically for the whereabouts of Jamal Khashoggi's remains.
Right. Daniel, let me end with you and ask you just How will internal politics play out, though, for President Trump after his statement on Khashoggi?
Well, the internal politics is playing itself out in the US Congress with bipartisan support for a law which would hold Saudi Arabians accountable for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, but going much further and focusing on the war in Yemen and the Saudi role in it. So, for example, it calls for the suspension of US supplies, in-air supplies of fuel to Saudi jets going into Yemen, and for the US State Department to report constantly on human rights violations in Yemen. All this comes at a time when there is this bipartisan consensus to start to take action on Yemen after a report came out just yesterday from Save the Children suggesting that 85,000 children under the age of 5 have died since this civil war began, either from malnutrition or from the effects of conflict and disease. So I think this, in terms of the overall politics administration to the Saudis, won't change fundamentally, but there will be much more pressure on the administration to hold Saudi Arabia accountable for its actions in Yemen going forward.
All right, Daniel Ranches for us there in Washington and Michelle Badavid in Istanbul. To you both, thank you.